Hello, good morning, and welcome to Kirsty Knits and Sews. My name is Kirsty, and this is my podcast where I share about all the things that I've been making. Today is a regular podcast. I'm not sure what episode number. I haven't made notes, but I am surrounded by projects. And I will say, I haven't been working on a huge amount of projects at the moment, so I don't have as many as I normally do to show you in a podcast episode, even though it's been a little longer than usual. But I do have a couple of things to show you that I'm planning to frog. So let's jump in. You can find me on Ravelry as Kirsty Knits and Sews and on Instagram as well. I really only post on Instagram when a podcast goes up as an announcement that there's a new podcast up. Other than that, I don't really post over there anymore. So if you want to know, be alerted when a new podcast is up, you can go follow me on Instagram as well. Otherwise, most of what I do is here on YouTube now. I live in Poland, in Tarnów, with my husband and my 2 kids. And we are in the process of moving into our apartment. If you were here last episode, you will have heard me say that it was very echoey. The more stuff we've moved in, the less echoey it is. And also, no one complained. Everyone said that they couldn't hear the echo. So I'm really glad about that. This room is the least put together room in the entire apartment. But I'm in here because it's also the least used room. My kids, my husband are all home today. We're having a day off from moving things, so I thought what a great opportunity to sit down with you and share some of the things that have been going on. So yes, mess behind, that's just life at the moment, so you get a bit of that too. All right, in terms of what I've been making, actually first what I'm wearing the Mystery Musicale, which was the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along from 2025 last year, and I'm not going to go into all the yarns that I used. I didn't use just one. I used a mix of different ones. But my project pages will be linked below for Ravelry with the title of what it is, as well as the pages, which will have the patterns linked as well. So if you're interested in exactly what yarns I used, that is all there. The only mod I made was that I did an extra row of the brioche in the pattern that only had 3, and I did 4 because I had extra yarn, because I had extra skeins that I used throughout. So there you go. Mystery Musicale. I do love this. It is probably my most worn Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. I think I can say that. The first one that I made, Shawlography, I do love, but I usually only wear it in deep winter when I'm going out because it's not as soft. I used super soft by Holstgarn. And it's not as soft next to skin as, say, like 100% merino, or in this case, mohair and alpaca as well, and bamboo. I used a mix of different things in this one. So this is super soft, not the yarn brand, but it is extra soft. And I just find it really a good one for wearing as a shawl around the house, rather than just when I'm going outside. So this is one that I do grab for warmth, an extra layer when I'm at home. Yeah, so the only finished object I have, other than what I'm wearing, which is not a new finish, is another Stephen West shawl. Now, I promise I do knit things that are not Stephen West, but this one is one that has been on the needles for a while and is finished. Now, I do have a photo of this while it's being blocked, so I can put that up as well, but this gives you a pretty decent idea. It is huge. Huge, I tell you. The wings go out. It is beautiful. So this one is the Awesome Agosa, which was last year's 2025's Mo Glow Along, the mohair knit along that he does every year. The Awesome Agosa was the first year. This year is the Mohair Mobile, I think. It's currently in process and I'm not doing it. I didn't do this as part of last year's one either. I started it in August, I believe. In fact, I have it here, August 14th, and I finished it March 8th. So yeah, I didn't do it as part of the knit along, but I saw Whiskey and Wool, cannot remember her name right, Shannon of Whiskey and Wool did it in pinks. And when I saw her one and she put a picture up, or she was holding it up, and my husband walked into the room and said, "You could make me that." And I thought, brilliant, great, love it when he likes something and suggests something for him. And so I jumped straight on to Ravelry, had a look at Stephen's sample photos, and I found one that was in similar colours with the browns and yellows and creams. And Jordan said, "Yes, that's great. It looks like an owl." And so I thought, brilliant. And I went and found some similar colours and bought it, and it sat there for a little bit before I cast it on. I went into this a lot more last time in terms of how many stitches, percentages and things. So if you want to know more about the making of the shawl, I recommend you go back to the last one. What I did notice, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, no, I think I did, that I was waiting for more yarn. I had decided to purchase more yarn. I don't know if it had come in yet or if it had just come in. Can't remember. But I did decide to get more yarn to finish the border. Now, funnily enough, I thought I would have enough of the yellow. I knew I wouldn't have enough of the red, which is called mahogany. And then the last colour is, the red is called rust. I knew I didn't have enough of the rust. I knew I did have enough of mahogany because I had an extra ball that I'd been using for other things that had plenty left over. And then I knew I wasn't going to have enough of the dark chocolate, which was the final colour. And this one, you're marling the whole time 2 colours together. So for every colour you see here, that's actually 2 different colours held together. So I knew I wasn't going to have enough of the final colour to hold together for the I-cord border. And originally I thought I'll just make it shorter, but then I realised that because I had enough of all the paler colours, it would have just severely truncated that border, and it would have been just a very tiny border in the end. And I decided I did want the full range of colour there. So I bought another ball of rust and another ball of of rust and dark chocolate. So the red and the dark brown. And then when I was knitting it, I actually ran out of the yellow. I only ran out, let's see, you can see when you know what you're looking for. I ran out here, and so I don't know how much you'll be able to tell, but from here over, oh yeah, I think you can see that, there's just a lighter strand being held with the red. So what I did was I went back up to the colour before the yellow, and I just held that with the red for that last little bit. Actually, I'm not sure how obvious it is. In person, I can see it, but it's not something that if you aren't looking for is going to distract you. So I decided I could either start holding red by itself, or I could move on to the next colour. And honestly, I'm not sure it would have mattered if I'd just gone on to the next colour. But I decided to hold it, go back a colour, because you're getting the pearl bumps on the other side of the yellow, and I didn't really want the darker colour to come in at that point. So that's what I did when I started running out of, when I ran out of the yellow. And then the other colours I had plenty of. Here's my bag with all the stuff in it. When I purchased the yarn, I knew I would be pushing it because I did not purchase enough meterage for the last few colours. So when I purchased the yarn originally, I did make the decision to not buy or have the recommended amount of yarn sitting there. So yeah, that was a decision I made, and clearly I played yarn chicken and it was fine once I purchased more yarn. So that means at the end of that, I have some yarn left over. So out of my first 2 colours, colour A and B, were both the same colour white. And so I finished one of the balls up completely, and I have this much left, which is not much. They're 25-gram balls. So just a little bit of fluff left for that one. My third colour, I had this much left. So remembering this is leftovers from 2 balls. My third colour, and then my 4th colour, I had a tiny little bump left. Like I said, I completely ran out of the yellow. And then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I completely ran out of the yellow. I bought a second ball of the rust. This is what I had left over from my mahogany, which I had used in multiple different projects already. Like I've used it for a cowl, I've used it for knee warmers, and now I've used a bit in this to top it up as well. And also that was the one that I had the most left over out of these three colours. I had quite a bit of mahogany left anyway. So I used up what I had bought for the project and added a little bit from here. And then this is the dark chocolate. So altogether, I don't have a huge amount of leftovers. Granted, these are still almost 25 gram balls. Like they are still full, I would say. But these ones over here are very, very small. So I'm pretty happy with that. That was 8 skeins out and then 2 extra skeins in this year because I had to buy these 2. And these ones I'm still counting as full skeins because they are so close to 25 grams. In fact, one of them, I don't know which one, but I think one of them is still over 25 grams because you know how you sometimes get a little bit more when you purchase than the exact grammage. I needed that little of it. But like for the chocolate brown, I just needed the I-cord bind off. But I'm really glad I did it because I only got through like that much before I needed the new ball. Like I did not have much. So I'm glad I purchased it. Now I have yarn left over. The pattern, I did 4mm needles. I don't know if that's what it is in the pattern or not, but that's what I used. I often size up for Stephen West, and I don't know if I did for this or not. Like I said, August to March took a fair amount of time to do it. My husband has been wearing it and he loves it. The first time he touched it, he said, it's so light. And I was like, yeah, it's 207 grams. For a shawl this size, that is very light because it's mohair held double. Oh, actually, in this case, I used Suri alpaca mohair, which is a alpaca, wool, and polyamide blend, but it's called Suri alpaca mohair. And I bought it from Butchki Warmy, which is a Polish shop, and I will link that down below. I don't think it has a brand name beyond that. So if you're interested, yes, I did purchase it here in Poland. Yeah, my husband's been using it. He loves it. In fact, when I said to him I'm going to go record, I had to take it off his neck and I replaced it with another shawl that I'd made for him previously. So when I finished that, I had plans that did not eventuate. And so I'm going to share them here and you can tell me if you think it's a good idea or not. I just heard my dog at the door and I don't know if she's going to come in or not. But I thought I have this yarn, and my plan had happened when I still thought I would have some yellow left over, and I think the yellow not being here kind of put a damper on my plans a bit. But that's my yarn leftovers at the moment. I thought I have this Drops alpaca boucle that I bought to make just a cozy jumper. And when I started knitting with it, I hated it. Now, this was like I went into it a lot a while back. There were a couple of problems. First of all, it's boucle and I was using Chowgoo needles, and Chowgoos have a pointy end. So I kept getting caught in the yarn rather than being able to knit it easily. And so I thought if I go in to use my Addies, they have a more blunt tip and that should work better for this yarn. So I was like, that's a change I can make. But I really liked, I saw a picture, it was a Drops pattern. I saw a picture. I don't like Drops patterns. I find them incredibly hard to follow, but I thought it's a very basic like pullover. Surely it shouldn't be that hard. Not only was it hard and frustrating, but the color in the picture compared to the yarn that I bought just didn't look the same. The picture looked like kind of a warm cream with maybe a slight gray. The yarn itself, like this, just kind of looks like a dirty cream, but it was being held with a silver gray. And so overall, what I was expecting to be a warm creamy jumper was turning out to be a dirty grey colour, which for some people would still look stunning. For me, it would not. So I eventually just frogged it. I'm like, I'm not enjoying knitting it. I don't think I'm going to enjoy the finished product, so I'm just going to put it aside. But now I have boucle yarn, and I don't use boucle yarn. I've never used it. And so I'm not really sure what to do with it. And I have a sweater quantity sitting here waiting for something. So I thought, what if I take the leftover colours here, hold it together with the boucle yarn and do like a colour blocked jumper. I thought maybe that would work. So this is my thought. I've got my creamy white here, which if I hold with the boucle should make the top a bit whiter. And I thought if I just go through and just use up all the ends of these, and then when I get to these ones, I can either do colour management, like I'm going to knit down to, you know, a third of what's left, or I can just knit till it's gone. Part of my question is, do I hold it double with the boucle, or do I just hold a single strand of this with the boucle to knit? And that comes back a little bit to the pattern I want to do. I'm going to do the lento. The lento is a raglan pullover. I've seen so many people knit this jumper. It looks great. Every time I've seen it knit, I think that is beautiful. The proportions of the raglan and everything is gorgeous. So I've been wanting to make this for a while, but I always struggle purchasing a basic raglan pattern because there are so many basic raglan patterns out there that are free. There are so many that I've knit before that I've enjoyed, but there's something about the lento that every time I see it, I think that has hit it. Like that's it. Why reinvent the wheel when it's already been done so beautifully? And so I thought, I've got this yarn that I'm not fussed about. I've got these leftovers that I would like to use up. I love the idea of like a colour block sweater that starts pale and gets into the darker browns, but also not super dark because it's being held with this and marling. Like, I think I would enjoy it as an experiment and as a stash buster, and I think I would enjoy the finished product. So this is sitting here waiting. I was thinking of doing a cast off, cast on, even though this one is not a 12 cast ons. I thought I could do a making vlog, and I just haven't had time. Moving has been insane. The apartment we're living in is on the 3rd floor, which means we have 3 flights of stairs. So everything we bring into our new house, we have to carry up 3 flights of stairs. And physically, we've been exhausted, but also time-wise, we haven't had much time to just sit at all. So this has stayed in the idea basket, but I wanted to share it with you because I would love to get this cast on, and I've given up on the idea now of doing a vlog about starting this one, but I thought I would share with you here so that next time when it's cast on, hopefully, you know what I'm talking about. The other thing is the Addy needles, I've only got 5 and 7 millimeter, and the lento is 4 and 6 millimeter. And so I'm trying to figure out whether I upsize needles and just live with the gauge it is, or I do have some Knit Pro Novas over here, which are more similar. They're still more pointy, I think, than Addy, but they're more similar to Addy than they are to Chowgu. And so I was like, maybe I could use them and see if they work for the boucle. So that's my thinking. And I've got 4 millimeter and 5.5 millimeter, I think. So I'm like, maybe I could even do the ribbing in 4 and then everything else in 7. Yeah, I'll think about that. So that is still living in the same bag that the Awesome Agosa was living in. This is one that I made myself. I have a tutorial here on YouTube if you're interested in making bags that have a zip, a handle, a box bottom, lining. This is my go-to bag. There's no pattern. It's just how I make them. Everything you need is in the tutorial, and I also talk about how to change sizes because the tutorial is for a sock size bag, and this is clearly not a sock size bag. Yeah, so that is my first finish and a potential new cast on. I'm looking forward to getting going on that one. The next one I have to show you here is going to be my next finish. And I'm going to be in the middle of a row. Kirsty, why would you do this to yourself? All right, I know why I did this to myself, because I was just talking to my family. We have a chat every Monday, night for them, morning for me. And it's been going on for 5 or 6 years that every week we've gotten together to have a chat. My parents, my sister, my brother, and any nibblings, in-laws that may want to join in. So yes, I was working on this morning, chatting to them, and when I finished chatting with them, I thought I'm going to turn it off and watch a podcast. And I thought, wait a minute, I can record a podcast. The kids are happy. We're having a day off. So I went and chatted with my husband, but it meant that I just stopped this where it was when I turned off Zoom, and I'm in the middle of a row. But let me show you. This is my Advent project, which is the Luminaria shawl by Luminaria. Do I have it written down? Lumin. How did I not write this down? Huh. Either. That's really funny. I never wrote this into my book. That's really funny. All right. I'm going to have to fix that. I have my knitting journal here. And for some reason, I just never wrote this in at the beginning of December last year. And so it's not in there now. So funny. All right. I will add that in. I started this, I want to say on the 1st of December. It's an Advent pattern. No, I didn't. I started it on like the 5th because I couldn't decide what to start. So I started it later in the month, and then I did the 5 days at once, or 6 days at once. Anyway, it's the Luminaria shawl by, I'm not going to remember anything now. What's her name? Lindsay Fowler of, what's her pattern company? It is Lindsay Fowler. Luminaria shawl, patterned by Lindsay Fowler. All right, I don't have her other name on the pattern. So it's designed to be done with like 10 or 12 20-gram minis. And so I've just adapted it to be done with a 24 Advent skein, which means I have heaps of pretty much every colour left over. Heaps and heaps. But what I did, the way that she does the pattern is she writes it up. It's charted. It's only charted, not written out the whole pattern. But she has the chart is this like white row here. 1, 2 of those is 1 chart repeat. So that much is 1 chart repeat, just for the increases purpose. But a lot of people, when they change colour, like for that section is one colour and that section is another colour, and it ends up with a very blocky look because you're getting one uninterrupted stripe of each colour. The way that she knit it, however, was to do, 1 stripe, 2 stripes, 3 stripes, and by stripes I mean between each white, that's 2 stripes. So if you were looking at that as 1 stripe, you might do half a stripe, you might do 1.5. And it gave a very nice kind of plaid look, tartan look, because those were, thick and thin, interrupted by all of the main colour. And I loved that look. And in the pattern, she just says, knit until you want to change colour. And a lot of people were changing colour at the very regimented point. I struggle with random. I like organised chaos. And so I just looked at her pattern and did what she did. So when she changed colour, I changed colour. Now, I had to do that based on the photo because at no point in the pattern does she say when she changed colour. So I just did it based on her photo, used the Advent minis as they came. And then when I got to the border, got to the end of the Advent minis, I was, I want to say 3, 1.5 charts, maybe just 1. I think it was 1 chart before. No, it must have been 2, 2, 1, 1. 1.5 charts, whatever it was. I wasn't at the point where she said stop here, which meant that when I got to the border, I knew that it wouldn't match up if I just followed what she said for the border chart. And so I was going to repeat the first 4 colours up here again at the bottom. But I decided that I really just wanted one of each colour in the body of the shawl rather than to bring 4 colours back in, even if they were used such a small amount at the top. And so I decided to just go straight into the border. And the border is designed to be done with 2 contrast colours, and I've just swapped it every time. So the grey and the pink here are 2 of the, basically the grey and the pink is what it says, and then the blue would be the grey and the light pink would be the pink, and then this colour here I think would be the grey, and then it says pick another colour for the bind off at the end. So I'm literally like half a row away from starting the bind off on this. Like, I'm so close, and I probably could have sat down and finished that and showed you a finished project unblocked, but when you got kids, you just record when you can record. So I didn't want to try and finish this off and then not have a chance to record today. So what I did every time, it had 2 colours plus the main colour for the border, and I just swapped every time to keep more of this kind of look going. And I'm thinking at the moment I'm going to do the bind off in the brown, just because there's some browns and darker colours, so I thought that would kind of tie it all together nicely. I'm kind of, I don't know, part of me wishes I was finishing in the green and I could go back and do the bind off in the green, but I think, yeah, bringing that brown back in at the end, I will really like the effect of that. Yeah, so it means that it's going to be a little bit smaller than the pattern says, because I'm going to have I think 3 sections between the white lines less than the pattern says, which also means less stitches, less wide. But whether I use it as a like around the shoulder shawl like this, or whether I use it as a around the neck when I'm going out, I am going to love it and use it. The main color is just an undyed 100% superwash merino, and all of the yarns are from an advent that me and some friends did, an advent swap. I can't remember where we bought them from. I think the lady's name is Charmaine. Can't remember the shop, but I can try and link it down below. I should be able to find it. And it's just a 75-25 sock yarn that we bought, undyed minis, and then dyed ourselves. This year, fun fact, we're going to do it again, but we're going to do DK instead of fingering weight. And so I'm thinking through DK patterns. My dog is scratching at the door again. I'm thinking maybe a jumper with colour work, which is always a little bit interesting when you don't know what the colours are going to be. Interesting. Trove. Could I adjust Trove to be DK? Maybe I can convince them all to do sport instead of DK. I'll have to think about that. All right. So that is this. It should be finished today because I will be able to work on it this afternoon or this evening. Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad that I've finally done this pattern. I would actually really like to do this pattern again with 10 colours like the original pattern is written for, because I love seeing all the different colours coming in here, but I also love in the original how the same colours keep popping up and you get the dark and the light. Yeah, so I love this, and maybe I can make one as a gift or something for someone, because it's a great pattern. It's super simple, very good. Like, the repeats are easy. I haven't had to look at the pattern aside from the border for so long. Yeah, definitely recommend this pattern, but do know it is only charted. This is in my Mr. Darcy bag that I made as part of the Advent swap. Everyone got a Jane Austen themed bag. So yeah, this is my one. And I'm actually not going to put that back away because once I finish recording, I might sit down and finish that row at least, and maybe a bit more. All right, the next one that I have to show you is a half finished object. And this is my test knit. How cute is that sock? So cute. This is a test knit for Cuppa Knits. She is Karolina Adamczyk, a Polish designer. She has sweaters, scarves, mittens, socks. I've test knit her for her a few times, and I have some of her patterns. Do I have any that I haven't knit? That's a good question. She has quite a few free patterns if you're wanting to try your hand at colourwork knitting. She does have some free colourworks patterns, I think beanies and socks to kind of dip your toes into the waters. But this is a new one. It's called Apple Pie Socks. It's not released yet. The test knit finished 4 days ago, and I haven't heard when the pattern will actually be released. So when it is released, I will for sure let you know. This is the smaller size of sock, and I just did 3 rounds for the cuff, for the leg instead of the 5. And then obviously it's a very short foot because my daughter is quite small. This is for my 4-year-old daughter. She loved it. She put it on. She said, "Mum, it fits perfectly." And so now I've got to get going on the second sock so that she can wear them before she grows out of them. Funny story, actually. I shared this on my last podcast that I was doing this, and I said, I don't do test knits because I hate getting gauge, but I knew that I could do this and I decided to do it. And then I mentioned there was one other person doing an extra small, and she actually was watching this podcast. So she was like, "Hey, I'm the other person. And yes, it does fit me perfectly with the full 5 repeats." So yes, hi, if you're watching. Don't remember. I know that she had a different name on Ravelry to Instagram. Ravelry to YouTube. And I can't remember either of them right now. But hi, if you're watching again. She's finished both socks. I am still going. So my first one is done. It's blocked. That's all I needed to do for the test, which I'm very glad because, like I said, moving craziness. But here is my second one. It is started. I'm 1.5 repeats. I'm halfway through the leg, basically 1.5 repeats through the chart. I'm doing it on DPNs. They're 2.5mm Chow Goo, and that is all according to pattern. I have a little ducky needle cozy here for my DPNs. I want to ask you, actually. I have a friend who said, "Hey, could you do a DPN needle cozy tutorial for YouTube?" Now, this is not something I'm going to be doing in the next month, maybe 2 months, because ain't nobody got time for that. Look at the state of my house. But when I've got everything set up here, these are really easy to make. And I've just come up with a way to make them, and I've made a few for me and for some friends. This particular friend would like some more, and I think she wants to know how I made them so that she can make some, and I can absolutely give her the information she needs for that. But would anyone else be interested in a proper tutorial for these? A lot of people sell them, and I know you can buy them. A lot of the places I see you can buy them are in America. I actually don't know if there are other places that I've seen them much. I think I saw one place in Australia, actually. Anyway, if you're interested in a tutorial, not for right now, but for maybe a few months' time, let me know in the comments, and I will think about that a little bit more. I would absolutely do a tutorial just for my friend because she's amazing and I love her so much. Hey, Rosie. But yeah, if other people are interested, I might just do a more official, proper one here rather than just sending her some information. But yes, I'm doing them. Oh, and I don't normally do colour work on DPNs. So this is new for me. I found it all right. When I do colour work on 9-inch circular, I knit the sock inside out, and so the floats go around really easily. This one, there were times where I was definitely knitting tighter than at other times, and I don't know if that was just stress or what. When it blocked out beautifully and to gauge, so I'm really, really happy with that. But I think I need a little bit more practice knitting colour work with DPNs. What I did find was in the pattern, you can see here you've got like, if I do the other side, the stitch of white and the stitch of pink. When the DPN changeover happened between those two stitches, pretty much seamless. When I put it between the two lots of 3, a lot more tension issues happened there. And I noticed that particularly on the bottom of the foot because the center of the foot was one of the 3s. I struggled with that a lot, and then as I got halfway through, I then changed my point of beginning of round, or like where I swapped needles, to another between 2 single stitches, and it fixed that problem. So I don't know if you are even interested in colour work on DPNs, but if you are, I find swapping colours where you have 1 single stitch of each colour, it brings the float into the corner properly. If I'm trying to do it over 3 stitches, then when you have the 2 needles like this, it kind of cuts across, and getting the tension right I find much harder. Just a little bit of my thoughts on that one. The yarn I'm using for this, I should tell you the yarn. I'm using Drops Fable. I've got this kind of beigey colour, which is colour 121. I have this fuchsia colour, which is colour 109. And then I have Grundle Hot Socks Merino, maybe? Oh gosh. Colour 17. So those are the 3 that I'm using. Yeah, I've seen some of the test knits use really fun colours. Like one of them is like orange, yellow and purple, I think, and it just has such fun effects. So when this pattern is released, I will absolutely let you know, but I also recommend going on and having a look at the projects to get some colour themes, because I went safe with kind of 3 shades, white, pink and pink. But some of them are so much fun. Lots of 70 vibes in some of the colours. It's great. All right. The next thing that I have been working on for my focus knit, I've been working on my tessellated vest. So this was one that I pulled out of the box last. Oh, I didn't bring my thing in. I should grab that so I can pick out another couple of focus knits. So this is one that I pulled out of my bowl for what to focus on. And I stole the needles from a different project, which is here. I'll show you this quickly. I had the needles in this bag with my Flim Creek mittens. And so I'd put them in here thinking, this is going to be a super quick knit. I'll just like chuck them in here, finish it up, put them back in the other bag. Not a quick knit, not because it's hard, but because I haven't been enjoying it. I'm not sure about the fit. I'm not sure about the yarn. I don't know. It's so many layers of I'm not sure. It's kind of one of those experiments that I lost momentum on because it got hot again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to frog this. I took the needles back for the other one. I'm going to frog this, and I'm going to think about what I want to do for mittens for next year in a little bit. One of the things that I've discovered a lot since I started these and spoke about it, someone mentioned thrummed mittens, which is where you're pulling unspun wool through, like you're knitting with a little bump of unspun wool, so the inside is like full of unspun wool and very warm. And that looked a lot of fun, and I have plenty of unspun wool. The other one is lined mittens. Someone sent me a link or told me a name of a pattern that is basically like a musselburgh hat where you knit a tube and you put it inside each other, but for mittens. So you knit the lining and an outside, and you put the lining inside the outside, and you have like a double thickness mitten. And so you can use like a softer for the inside and thicker for the outside. And I just thought that's brilliant. So having been sent all of these things and not being very happy with this, I decided I'm going to frog this. It's not frogged yet, but just to prove it, I am going to frog this. and I have already stolen the other needles back for something else. So that is one that will be frogged. So this is the project that I stole the needles for. This is my tessellated pullover. Now I'm using the tessellated vest pattern, but I'm modding it into a pullover. Andrea Mary will often do a pullover and a cardigan. In this case, she did a pullover and a vest, and I decided to not buy both patterns. I made the vest for my dad, and I'm making the cardigan, the pullover for myself. I think she's made a cardigan of the same pattern, actually. So this is what I've got. I did the waist one size down and then increased for the first round because I wanted the waist to cinch in, and I think you can see from that I am getting that. Yeah, I am loving the fabric that I'm getting here. It is leftovers from two different projects. The green is Into the Woods by Dye Done. Do I have a tag in here? Maybe? No. So this is Yaka, Dye Done. Sorry, I haven't had this much trouble with my camera focusing in a long time. So that's Yaka, which is 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 20% yak. It is delightful. It is soft. The next one that I have is, and that's in the color Into the Woods. Next, I have Delia, which is also Dye Done, and this is the color Snowbound. And Delia, I do not have the tag, but it is, I believe, an alpaca or cashmere blend. It is delightfully soft and has a bit of a halo. And the third color, both of those left over from my dad's tessellated vest. The third color is Hand Spun by Me, and this is left over from my Weekender, which is another Andrea Mary pattern that I spun yarn for, and I ended up with a lot more than I needed. And so I thought this is a good chance to use hand spun that I already have. Colors, it goes really well together. And so I'm loving seeing those different bits of orange and blue and brown coming through. I love it. I did split for the sleeves, so that's why half is on the needle and half is on try-it-on cord. And I've only done a couple of rows since I split for the sleeves, but I am not convinced that I split in the right place. I measured because I want it to be cropped, and I was like, that's where my waist is, and so I measured how much I want below my waist for it, or below the split, because it's bottom up. I hate bottom up, but I like the pattern. I'm doing it. And so I thought that's how much I need, and so I did that, and then I need a little bit longer just to be sure. But I have another pattern of Andrea Mary's, her framed, which I did bottom up, and I love it. And I wear it all the time. And I thought I'll try and match the dimensions of that so that I can get the right thing. But I did actually change my version of that. I don't think I heat gauge, but I also did less than what the pattern said. And so I thought I really just need to measure my one so that I can make sure that this is matching. When I split, I started knitting, and I thought that just seems very short. Even for a cropped jumper, that seems very short. So what I need to do is at least pull out my other jumper, which I do have here, and I know where it is, so I can do that and measure how long it is from underarm to hem. Because if I can match that one in terms of length, we're laughing. The other thing that I was thinking of doing is blocking this, because I don't know after blocking if it's going to stretch this way, if it's going to stretch that way. It's not much stretch that way, but it may stretch this way. And so I can block it and see if that will make a difference. But I think as it stands, I feel like I need to go back to the split, unsplit it, do a little bit more, and then go from there. It is lovely. I'm loving this. And when I finished 12 cast ons, this was day 12, I'd done the ribbing and I'd done the increases up to the right size. And so I hadn't done any of the color. And so I did all of this in a week because this was really the only thing I was working on. And I really, really, really loved doing that. So much fun. Yeah, so there you go. That's my tessellated pullover. And yeah, I don't know when I'm going to be working on that again, but I will, before I put it away with the rest of my whips, I will take that, measure my other one and see whether I need to go back or not. Because if I do need to go back, I need to do that before I put it away, because if I put it away in the state that it is, I'm never going to touch it again. I need to deal with this before I put it away. All right, the next thing that I have to show you is my linen soup wrap. So this was my 12 cast-ons day 1, and I love it. I brought a mini scale so that I can see how much of my yarn of each colour I have left, because I am intrigued. So this was, like I said, day 1 of the 12 cast-ons, and this is where I'm up to. It is a scrappy project, and you can see lots of different colours, things going on here. This is one that I love looking at up close as well as from a distance, because it's just so different. I love seeing like the colour play that happens in the different sections. I had a feeling that, like, I finally changed my pink colour. It changed up here, and I thought, wow, that's a long time to have the same pink. But then I realised that actually, like, that was one pink, that was another, there was a tiny bit in here of another. And so it was still a long time for one pink, but it was that much. It wasn't the entire shawl. And what I mean by that is this yarn, the main colour I'm using is Sapino Surprise in this green colour. And then the other 2 colours are, I want to say Magic Knot Ball, but Scrappy Balls. I used a Russian join, and on day 1 of cast-ons I go into that a lot more. But yeah, these are Scrappy Balls. And so in, if you don't know what I mean by 12 cast-ons or cast-ons, it's a knit-along hosted by Angela of Yarn and Yarns, where you start up to 12 projects between Christmas Eve and the 31st of January the following year. And I started 12 in 13 days, and I vlogged about each day. So this was my first cast on day 1, and I had a whole vlog about picking the cast on, like picking the project, finding the yarn, in this case making the magic or the Scrappy Balls, and starting the project. So that's all in a vlog, and I will link the playlist down below if you're interested. But yes, this is how much I have done. And so, like, you can see this really bright green here. That was one of the blue ball changes, this part here. So I think I've had a lot more changes in the blue colour than I have in the pink colour. And I'm really excited to get out of these like dark maroony colours now into some lighter, like you've got some baby pink coming up, some brighter pink. It'll be really interesting. So out of the main colour, I have, all right, so I still have 76 grams left. So I'm about a quarter of the way through this shawl. That's nice today. I'm going to knit until this is gone. I could take a little bit off for my cozy memories, which I'm kind of tempted, but I have to do that beforehand. And then these ones are scrappy, so I could add or take away if I need to. So this one is 61 grams, so that's significantly less. And this one is 82. So I may have to add some more blue in. However, in my bag, I do have more blue. I have, 25 grams worth. So once I finish what's in here, I'm just going to join this in and finish the shawl with this one. And this was, this is left over from something that I did for my dad. And I just didn't want, I think at the beginning of this, I had like a 20-gram mini or something. And so I didn't want to wind the full 20-gram mini around this, especially if I didn't need it. It looks like I will need it, but yes. Sorry, my daughter needed some help. So what was I saying? I have done this much. So this is where I was the last time I showed you. So I've done a few inches since then. I love this kind of project because everything is in one ball. So you're just working through it, but it changes and you're always excited to get to the next color or the next change. And there have definitely been times I've knit 3 more rows because I'm like, I'm this close away to a color change when I'm going to stop and I just want to get to the color change. So yeah, it's very Moorish in that sense. I have memorized the pattern so I don't have to worry about looking at it at all. It's great. I am going to move this marker so that the next time I show you, I can show you how much I have actually done. But in terms of working on this, I'm working on it on Sunday, Scrappy Sunday. I did miss one Sunday since I last recorded because this beautiful thing was up to the I-cord border, and I thought I'll finish the I-cord bind off and then I'll pick up the linen super wrap. And it turns out the I-cord bind off took every minute of knitting time I had on that Sunday. So I didn't add anything to this that particular week, but I think that was 3 Sundays worth, maybe 2. I did a fair bit yesterday. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 worth, but yeah, I am really enjoying this one. If you have started a linen super wrap, I would love to hear about it, and I'd love to hear what colors you're doing, because I've chosen green with blues and greens and then pink. So I've got 2 similar and 1 contrast. I would love to see something where everything is like all pastels or 3 shades of a similar color or something, because this has some bits where there's quite a contrast, which makes it look more muddy. And there are some times where there's not much contrast at all. And I'm just loving seeing all the different colors in groups together. So yeah, if you have your own project like this, I would love to hear about it. That is in another one of the project bags that I made, and it is Christmas dinosaurs. I love it. The fabric I got from Spotlight Australia, but it was 2 years ago now. Yeah. I have 2 more projects down here. So the first one that I'm going to show you is my focus project. And I'm trying to think if this is meant to be this coming week or next week. I may have lost track a little bit. What day are we at? No, we're the 23rd. Okay, this was last week's focus project. And you'll understand why I lost track a little bit in a minute. So this one is I've been calling it Rosier cardigan, but I think it's actually a Rossel. Yeah, a Rossel cardigan. Rossel, R-O-S-A-L. And this is what it's meant to look like. I wanted a lightweight cardigan that I could throw on over dresses in spring, summer, that would give me something over my arms without being really hot. And so I found this yarn from Kukonki, which is another Polish shop. It says Motke Ombre because you can get different color gradients in this, but this one is just viscose, and it's Migdal is almond is the color name. It's 96% viscose and 4% PBT. I'm not sure what that is. It's 3 strands. They're not like plied together. It is just strands, like you can probably see on the black there, like it's just strands. It's not plied. And it is 1,200 meters per 225 grams. So lots and lots of meterage in this. And I started making the cardigan. And looking at this, like, it's not bad. Where's the bits that, like, it's not bad. It's very soft. It's delightfully soft. But like, this part here is kind of part of the repeat. And I think I just was like, I think it's going to end up much bigger, or with much bigger gaps than I wanted. And that would mean going down needle size or hook sizes. It's crochet. Going down hook sizes, playing with gauge. A lot of people who did the pattern, I was reading through notes, and some of them like it was really hard to follow. It was gauge was way off. They tried a whole lot of things. Someone had done like chunky yarn and done much less repeats, and it was nice. Anyway, I knew that going in. I still chose the pattern. I did this much, and I think honestly it was just a little fiddly. I don't know if I can say that considering what I'm about to tell you, but I did this in a couple of nights, and then it sat in this bag ever since then, not being touched. And it's still been on my list. I started it the 26th of June. So I started it in summer here in Poland, and I have not touched it since June. It's now March, which tells me I'm not very happy with it. I'm not enjoying the process. I'm not necessarily looking forward to the finished object. So when I picked this up, I picked this out for last week's focus project. I think I mentioned here that I wanted to make a tablecloth for a table in the next room, and that maybe this would be frogged and turned into a tablecloth. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, yes, I'm definitely going to frog this. And I started looking for a tablecloth pattern, and I could not find any that I liked that would work for that oval table. I want an oval shaped tablecloth, or at least one that will fit reasonably well. Like if I have two sides draping down, like maybe a square with two sides draping down and two sides with just a little overhang. I'm not really sure, but I had a look on Ravelry and I could not find any that matched what I was thinking. And I realized what I'm really wanting is like a vintage tablecloth style, which isn't really in vogue right now, or at least to my understanding, but I love that kind of style. I still have some doilies and some crochet tablecloths from my grandma. So I thought maybe I would like to try something in that style. I had a look on Ravelry, could not find anything that was available. There were a lot of vintage patterns, but they weren't things that I could easily access immediately. I had a look. There's a way that you can access like vintage archives from a library in Australia. I had a look at that, but still couldn't find patterns. And there is somewhere, and I cannot remember where it is, but I couldn't find that one. And so I was looking through all these other things and I wasn't finding what I was looking for. But I did find a pattern on Ravelry that I really liked, and it was in a book. So I had a quick Google, and I could in fact buy the book. It's out of print, I'm pretty sure, but I could buy the book to be shipped here in Poland. And so I bought that from a Polish shop, and it should be here. I think they deal secondhand books, but it should be here in a couple of weeks. And it is called The Second Book of Modern Lace Knitting, I think. The Second Book of Modern Lace Knitting. And there are two patterns in there that I really like. One is the Rose of England, I think, which is a square tablecloth. And the other one is, I want to say lilacs, and that is an oval one. If I can, I will put photos up here so you can see what I'm talking about. I think they're both on Ravelry, and I think I saved them both. So I should be able to take photos or put photos up if that is the case. Anyway, so I have a crochet tablecloth book coming, and I'm very excited. So I will frog this. It hasn't arrived yet, so I haven't actually been able to focus on this week, which is why this one has gotten some work. But yeah, I will frog this. I will use this yarn if this yarn is not going to work, because that is a possibility. Like if it's too thick, I don't think I'm going to strip it down and do singles. I think that would be a bit ridiculous. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. If this is too thick, I do have a local like haberdashery shop nearby which sells cotton, which would be perfect for making crochet tablecloths. So if I need to go and buy that for the tablecloth, I can. But I would like to use this if I can make this work, even if the gauge is off or something. I think that would be fun. And I've also got to find then my really tiny crochet hooks, because this will be using a tiny crochet hook. So it's going to be a bit of an adventure, a bit of an experiment, because this is not something that I have done before. I think I've done crochet blankets, I've done doilies, but I've never undertaken a tablecloth. Jana of Finished Knitting Stories did do a crochet tablecloth recently, and I really enjoyed watching her process. And she actually used a Polish magazine to do that. She doesn't speak Polish, but someone had sent it to her, her family or her when she was younger, and she still had it, and it has all the diagrams, and I thought maybe I could do that. So I did go down to the local bookshop and had a look at the magazines, and they do have the same, I think it's called Robotki, the same magazine that Jana had, not the same edition, but the same magazine. And I had a look through them, and there were a couple that I was interested in that I could have done, but nothing that worked for the oval tablecloth. There were some that I would have loved to have made into doilies, and I may yet do that, but I didn't purchase them because I knew that I wanted to do the tablecloth first instead of getting distracted with doilies. And this has 1,200 meters. I hope that's going to be enough. If it's not, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, because I don't think Kokonki have this anymore. Who knows? Another experiment. So the Russell cardigan, I'm not even going to keep this pattern. Like, it's a free pattern on Ravelry. My project page will be linked below if you're interested in finding the pattern, but I am not, yeah, there is no love lost on that one. I'm putting that in the wrong bag. Oh, that's that one. Okay. Yeah, no love lost on that one. So I am putting the yarn back in here. I was doing it on a 3mm hook, and I think I'm going to have to go down to like a 1.25, 1.5mm hook for the tablecloth. We'll see. So that one is the second one that I am frogging, which means that I have 3 less projects now than I did at the beginning of March, even though I've only finished 1. Yeah. The last one that I have here to show you is my focus project for this week, which I have not touched yet, but I am excited to get going on. I'm going to finish my Luminaria shawl today, if all goes to plan, and then I will get this out and do some work on this one. So this is the Bradley Cobb Stitch jumper. Let me get it the right way around. And this is a pattern by, I believe, Sarah Hutton, and it is done for, it's knitted, West Yorkshire Spinners Blue Face Leicester DK is what it's designed for. I am doing it with Erica Blue 100 yarn, but I have overdyed it. When I bought it, it was quite a bright orange, like that kind of orange, and I overdyed it with some black to get this deeper color. This was a few years ago now. I was really looking for like a deeper browny orange color, and I could not find it anywhere. And so I bought some bright orange, I overdyed it myself, and then the next year there was this color everywhere. And I was like, well, if I just waited a year, I could have bought some specific. As it is, I have not. So I've got this. This was, fun story, this is cast on number 5 from 2025, 12 cast ons. So this one I started over a year ago. I've worked a little bit on last June and I haven't touched since then. It has this nice little pattern. It is a drop shoulder bottom up. Again, bottom up, not a huge fan. But it's drop shoulder and it has this on the sides and then in the middle it's stocking stitch. So you end up with the 2 panels that come up here, which will also include the shoulder, and then you pick up and do the sleeves. This is designed to be bottom up and to be pieced, and then you sew down the sides, and I wasn't going to have any of that, so I have marked where the sides are. Yeah, I've marked where the sides are, I've marked where the beginning of round is, and I've modified the pattern to just do it in the round. I will obviously be doing it flat when I split for the sleeves anyway. And I might just do like a 3 needle bind off or something to join up the sleeves depending on what the pattern says. And then I will pick up the sleeves and knit them down. I don't know if that's the construction the pattern has, but that is what I will be doing. And if it is meant to be, you start at the cuff and you knit up, I'll just reverse engineer the decreases because I'm not sewing in sleeves. That's not part of my knitting if it doesn't have to be. So yeah, this is where I'm up to at the moment. So I'm going to move my marker up. I have not touched this yet this week. And so I'm moving my marker up so that next time I can show you how much I have done in my week's worth of knitting. This one should be pretty good. It shouldn't take too long to get back into the groove of it. And the pattern itself is quite simple. So yeah, I'm not alternating yarn. I probably should. And I might start doing that in a little bit. But so far I haven't been alternating skeins because I find it so much more restful if I'm not. I think that is everything. Oh no, I did want to pick the next couple of focus projects. So let me go grab the bucket and I will be back. All right, I have my choosing bowl. So this is a plant pot that I use to choose my 12 cast-ons when it is 12 cast-ons time, and I've been using to choose a focus project for each week. So I'm just about to start doing the Bradley Cobb Stitch jumper. I'm going to choose 2 because, again, I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to record again. I'm hoping to get back into the every 2 weeks, but I'm not certain if I will be able to in the next 2 weeks or not. So I am going to pick out 2 projects for after I finish working on the Bradley Cobb Stitch jumper. And what I'm doing is I'm doing Scrappy Sunday on Sunday, Monday to Saturday. I'm working on different things, but mostly on what I choose from here. And then on Sunday I do Scrappy Sunday, and that's a nice little breath of fresh air to swap between projects. So are you ready to find out what my next focus is going to be? Oh, Christmas socks. All right. This is one of my 12 cast-ons. I think day 5, day 10. I started 5 pairs and I'm doing 15 in total. So this is a good one. I finished one of the 5 that I've started. Yes, I finished one of them. I have 4 left. 2 are color work and 2 aren't. So I think that'll be a good one. I just dropped that on the floor. I can do back and forth between them. All right, let's pick one more. With Grace in Your Heart. Oh, I've been working on this one. I completely forgot to pull this out and show you. I have actually done quite a bit of work on this. I finished the first section, the second section, and I'm into the third section. So I've done a lot more than when I last showed you. I'm not going to pull it out now because I do have to go and get lunch for the family. But with Grace in Your Heart Shawl, I'm very happy to get some more work on that one. So next time I record, I will show you what I've done to now, and I will put a marker separately for what I can do in my focus week of it. That one kind of replaced the rosier cardigan, and I completely forgot about it because, I just completely forgot about it. All right. Thank you so much for being here. It has been really nice catching up with you. As always, I'd love to hear what you've been working on. So if you can leave a comment below or head over to Ravelry, I've got a group page linked there that you can share photos of what you've been working on. Yeah, I am looking forward to catching up with you again and to being in a little bit more of a permanent place, hopefully, in this new house. But until we do get to see each other again, have a great couple of weeks and hope you enjoy your making. Bye.